All right, here is the math journal pages for the multi-step division number stories. So let's read the directions. For each problem, you're going to make an estimate and then solve and then answer the questions. So for question number 1, you'll see there's a few different parts. There is the word problem itself. Then they're asking you to do the estimate. Then you're going to answer. And then you're going to write an equation with a letter for the unknown. So let's take a second and let's read our problem to see what they're even asking us to do. So Margaret and her friend, so I'm going to underline Margaret and her friend to show us there's 2 people, have 2 summer job offers. A job babysitting is 8 hours each week. With Margaret and her friend both working this job, they would earn $208 a week. So that's for babysitting. I'm going to switch my color. A summer camp job is 7 hours each week, and together they would earn $210 each week. Which job pays more per hour for each girl, and then how much more per hour? So let's make some estimates. If I know that babysitting is $208 each week is how much the girls would make. So I'm going to round that down to 200 because I can do that in my head. The girls together are going to make around $200. So how much would they make each of them? 200 divided by the 2 girls, so they would each make about $100 a week babysitting. Now it says we want to figure out how much they would make per hour. So they're only working 8 hours, which is close to 10. So I'm going to estimate 100 divided by the 10 hours they'd work. Each girl would make about $10. So how would I write that as a equation? I'm going to write B for babysitting with an arrow, and I'm going to do the $200 divided by 2 equals $100, and then I'm going to separate it with a semicolon. Now I'm going to figure out how much per hour. So if they got $100 for the week they worked, and they only worked about 10 hours, they're each making $10 an hour. That's for babysitting. So now let's figure out the same process but with summer camp, if they worked at a summer camp. So it says that the job is 7 hours each week, which is still close to 10, and together they would earn $210. So I'm going to keep it at 200. I'm not going to round up, right? Because 210 is closer to 200 than it is to 250. And remember, we want to be able to do this in our head mentally. Divided by the 2 girls. So they would make $100, roughly. Now, they only work 7 hours this week doing the summer camp. Every week they only work 7 hours. But still, 7 is closer to 10 than it is to 1. So I'm going to take the $100 and I'm going to divide it by 10. And I get $10. So they actually, I'm going to put SC for summer camp, and I'm going to do 200 divided by 2 equals 100, figuring out how much money they would make a week, and then how much money they would make an hour. So actually, our estimate comes out to the same. Now, we know estimate isn't real answers, so we know that one job does pay more. So we would have to write an equation for the unknown. So this is just an estimate. So this is just letting us know that our answer is going to be pretty close. So I'm going to write an equation with the unknown, and I'm going to separate with parentheses to show what I'm doing first. So first I'm going to take 210 for the babysitting, and I'm going to divide it between the 2 girls. And I know the total for that needs to get divided by since I used 210, I'm talking about summer camp, divided by the 7 hours that they worked at the camp each week. And I'm going to put that around bigger parentheses. So now we're finished with summer camp. Minus how much they made for babysitting, which they made $208, split between two girls, so you're dividing. And then that's being divided again by how many hours they worked. And at the summer camp, they would work 8 hours a week, equals H for hours. So now we're going to solve this. So again, multi-step. So I'm going to use two different colors to help separate babysitting versus summer camp. So I'm going to split my work right here. I would recommend using a separate sheet of paper. So here is summer camp. So it is 210 divided by 7. And then divided again. Oh, I'm sorry, divided by 2, not 7. Divided by 7, the number of hours they worked, equals H. So if I did 2 divided by 210, I know that 2 times 100 is 200, and I'm left with 10, which is a multiple of 2, because 5 times 2 is 10. So I have no remainder, and my answer is 105. So the girls, every week, each girl would make $105. So now we have to take that $105 each girl would make and divide it by how many hours they worked, which was 7. They worked 7 hours each week at the summer camp. So again, I'm going to do partial quotient. I know that 7 times 10 is 70, and 105 minus 70 is 35, and 35 is a multiple of 7, because 5 times 7 is 35, so I have no remainder, and my answer is $15 an hour. At the summer camp, the girls made $15 for every hour that they worked. So now we have to do the same thing, but with babysitting. So I'm going to put a B for babysitting so I don't get confused. So they made $208 every week that they babysat, both of the girls. So you have to divide that by 2 to figure out how much each girl made. And then you're going to take that total and divide it by 8 to figure out how much each girl made per hour, because they worked 8 hours. So I'm going to do 2 divided by 208, and I know that 2 times 100 is 200, so I'm left with 8, which is a multiple, because 4 times 2 is 8, so I have no remainder, and my answer is 104. So let me erase my work here. So the girls made $104 a week. But we need to figure out how much they made in every hour they worked. They worked 8 hours a week, equals H. So if I do 8 and 104, well, I know that 8 times 10 is going to be way too much. 8 times 5, 8 times 10 we can do, which is 80. So if I put a 10 here and do 80, I would get 24. And I know that 24 divided by 8, 24 is a multiple, and I get 3. So if I add those together, they made $13 an hour babysitting. So which one pays more? Well, I just figured out that summer camp pays $15, while babysitting only pays $13 a week. So it pays $2 more per hour per girl, because summer camp, they make $15 an hour, and babysitting, they each make $13 an hour. So make sure you're organizing your information very clearly so you don't get confused. So let's look at number 2. Same thing. We're going to do an estimate. Then you're going to answer the question, and you're going to answer if there was any remainders that we found. So let's see what this problem is asking us. So it says that Anna wants to put 72 baseball cards into an album. A square album fits 4 cards per page, and a rectangular album fits, and actually I'm going to change the color of my highlighter here because a square album fits 4 cards per page, and a rectangular album pays 5 cards per page. How many more pages will she need to fit all the cards if she uses square rather than rectangular? So we're going to make some estimates. So let's figure out the square first. So I'm going to put a square. So I know that 72, I'm trying to think of a multiple that's close to something I could divide by 4. So I know 72 is close to 80. So let's just say she has 80 cards. Again, we're estimating. It doesn't have to be exact. Divided by 4 is 20. So she roughly needs 20 pages in a square album for her baseball cards. Now, if she had the rectangular album, she would have the 80 cards, but she can fit 5 cards per page, which I know is 16. So for the square albums, she needs 20 pages. But for the rectangular album, she only needs 16. Again, these are just estimates. So she needs 4 more pages. So your answer is about 4 more pages if she used square rather than rectangular. So now that we did that, they want us to figure out exacts here. So if I had, I'm going to split my page in half here, and I'm going to change my colors. So let's do square first, and I'll do it in green. I'm going to put an S here for square. So I know that she has 72 baseball cards, and she needs 4 per page. How many pages? So I know that 4 times 10, 4 times 10 is 40. And 72 minus 40 is 32. And I know that 32 is a multiple of 4 because 4 times 8 is 32. So she can fit all of her baseball cards in 18 pages exactly. And actually, let me write my unit. And again, I like to circle my answer so it doesn't get lost in all the math. Okay, so now let's talk about the rectangular, and I'm going to put an R for rectangular album. So she has the same 72 cards, but she could put 5 on a page. For the rectangular album, it's bigger. There's more surface area for her to put more cards. So what will get me close to 72? That's a multiple of 5. Well, I know 5 times 10 is 50. And I'm left with 22. Now, I already know, without even finishing, that I'm going to have some remainders because 22 does not go into 5. Or 5 doesn't go into 22 evenly. It's not a multiple of 5. So I can get close. I know that 5 times 4 is 20. So 22 minus 20 is 2. So technically Anna needs 14 full pages with 2 left over. But when you have a photo album, you can't have 2 cards just not in the album. You need a whole extra page, even if it's not filled. So she needs 15 pages for all of her cards. So what do you do with the remainders you found? You need to add another page. So you need to round up. So you need to round up a page to include the remaining 2 baseball cards. Now, it says the square album takes blank more pages than the rectangular album. Well, the square album takes 18 minus the rectangular album, which only takes 15, so it needs 3 more pages. Okay, so let's go to journal page number 2, and I'm going to split these journal pages up into 2 separate videos so it's not super long for you guys to watch.